Greetings! Welcome to the Devlog for hot dogs, horseshoes, and hand grenades. We're going to start off as always with a quick sound check. Make sure speakers aren't up too high. Wonderful. A little off to the right. So, what have we got for you this week? Well, what I had hoped to have for you last week, and then any of you have been, following the channel, saw the post, I had a last-minute disaster. Thankfully, some loading performance issues were caught by Nathan, one of the mod framework people, and who has been helping me test to find out whether this transition to Unity 5.67, which I'll explain why that's even occurring later, was successful or not. And it wasn't! So I had to pull the update at the last moment, but I believe things are working now, so let's take a look at some fun goodies. So we've been refreshing and replacing the AR-15 platform weapons in the game by a consistently produced and styled and dimensioned set by the artist Ale, who's been working with me. And so the first of our, we've got an M4 here, the original M4 carbine. I've been wanting to replace the M4s in game for quite a while because they have just been a mess. They're not the right dimensions, a bunch of them don't have the right sort of detail. A bunch of them are named incorrectly, or I just call it like M4 Shorty. So they're essentially every existing M4 in the game has been blown away. It is gone, and they are all being replaced by correctly configured and named weapons like this right here. Just look at that beaut. Let's actually go ahead and pop carry handle on it. Take some shots. Oh, great stuff. Swap the aperture there. Good stuff, good stuff. Absolutely wonderful model. To go with our classic M4, we have got an M4A1, double checking, block one. So many of them, I got them mixed up. So this one has our forward quad rail here, still has that sight, the integrated front. So we're going to pull the handle sight off, pop it on here. This one is actually full auto. Beautiful. Oh, and this is another thing. This was done with these sets, and hopefully I didn't break something in the game by doing this. But basically, stocks, sort of sliding stocks in game, used to use an interaction modality that would cause them to sort of jump when you grabbed them, because I was just using sort of the raw controller position and wasn't tracking offset. Now, you can see, regardless of where we grab the stock in its zone, it doesn't jump when we pick it up. So significantly smoother operation. Ah, wonderful. Great stuff. Great stuff. And just, again, just beautiful model. Wonderful. Wonderful stuff. And then the last one, this is the gun this is replacing is just named the Mark 18 Custom, which was custom was my way of saying not actually how this gun looks. And we have this replaced with the correct accurate version of close to what was in game. This is the M4A1 Block 2 CQBR, looking smexy. Let's pull ourselves out an attachment of some kind to shoot with. I'm so indecisive. I just always go with this one. Beautiful. Oh, helps. Oh, it's already charged. Didn't pull it off safe. Wonderful. So there you have it. Fair warning, there is also a proper left-handed version of this in the item spawner right now, but it's a little busted. I implemented it and then completely forgot to switch what side the rounds actually eject out of, and I was too busy dealing with our our disaster this past week to fix it, but it'll be fixed next week. I also tweaked the grab positions on the mags, reverting them to roughly where they were for the Stenag mags. So let me know if they feel comfortable now, folks, and fixed a bunch of assorted bugs involving like the appearance of rounds relative to the follower. There might be one or two mags where the follower sticks out when the mag is full. I will fix that. But yeah, so these are still ongoing. They still need some tweaks. The M203 doesn't connect to our M16A1 yet because, as I said, I'm still in the process of replacing many parts so that we can just have an AR-15 rifle set where everything is cross-compatible, everything's scaled correctly, everything is styled consistently. I just love it. Love how it is coming along, and I'm grateful for your patience in getting this all sort of reset how it should be. Anywho, let's jump out and talk briefly about what my nightmare was this past week. Yo! So, this is Anton's No Good, Very Bad Week explained. So, to give you some context for what went wrong this past week and why first question, why did you change the version of that H3 is running on, especially just this small increment of it? So basically, any of you who've played Winter Wasteland or Northeast Dakota have probably noticed for periods of time for the game's being out, things like SOSIGs and other distant objects and weapons have drawn basically without any of the fog over them. And the reason this happens is so infuriating. So, just for some super abbreviated background, for those of you who don't know what a shader is like a special program that a GPU executes that is a bunch of math that determines how something is shaded. Here is a highlight, and here's the dark parts, and this is this color, and makes this look bumpy, and this has some fog drawn on it based on its distance from the camera. The way a game engine works, or really any real-time application, there will oftentimes be many variants of that program, shader variants, that are used in different contexts. So in H3, there are scenes that have dense fog, and there are scenes that have more cartoony, what's called linear fog, and there are scenes that have no fog in them. And so there are the sort of three different copies of every shader that might be on an object for those different contexts. The Unity editor should be smart enough to know when I say go to build a content bundle of guns or SOSIGs or what have you, what shader programs are needed and not, and only include the ones or references to them in that bundle that are needed. And the version of Unity that H3 runs on has never done this correctly. It's sort of like rolling the dice every time, which is why sometimes there have been some builds of H3 where the fog works on things loaded from bundles, and there are some builds where it doesn't. And I end up I've got all of these like superstitions in place to try to massage the editor into doing what I want it to do. And several years ago, we had actually put what we thought was a code fix to make it more reliable, that involved basically like making this variant collection of all the shaders loaded in memory in the editor and then forcibly stuffing that into the bundle. I thought it was doing this the whole time. It was not, because of this same bug. And so basically what happened is that we migrated the game over to 5.6.7, and the bug that was basically causing these variants to be discarded suddenly went away, and all of these shader variants were being included. So the fix that we had done years ago broke things in an entirely new way, which is basically we were stuffing like 60 megabytes of shader variants into every bundle, way more than were ever needed, which, even though shaders are tiny, like 60 megabytes of text is a lot of text. And so what was happening is that you would go to load an object for the first time from a bundle, and then Unity would go, okay, I need to pre-warm, i.e. load onto the GPU, 60 megabytes of shaders. And so the entire application was just shuddering for like 5 to 7 seconds, regardless of how fast your computer was, basically. I'm sure it would be even longer on a slower machine. And so I had a several hour panic attack when this happened, because I had no idea why it was happening, and I had to go. The system for H3's bundles was written by a very good friend of mine who has a super talented fellow named Arthur, who has gone on to bigger and better things than shaders in video games. And time zones away as I'm like furiously typing like, help, it's broken. So the solution ended up actually just being removing the fix we had put in years ago. And me just basically once again doing my like superstitious set of things to get the sort of fog shaders into memory and pushing out a build. So I still don't actually know if the fog fix will hold, meaning that once this is out, I'm actually going to do several sort of stress tests where I specifically load the Unity editor and make sure to load it directly into a blank scene so no shader variants are cached in the editor, push builds and see if it breaks again. If it doesn't break again, it means that I can finally just not do this arcane step in the build process to try to force them in. I'm a little pessimistic about it, given that reading online, apparently this sort of shader variant issue in Unity wasn't really truly fixed until Unity 2019. But I'm hoping that I can at least, make it work well enough for my process, because this is one of the things that's like really complex about working on this game, is just the amount of time you burn testing things like this. Like, to do a full bundle rebuild for H3 is hours. So if I like check a box and do a thing and be like, maybe this will fix something, I then just have to hit build and then just wait. And so, which means I can test that maybe 3 or 4 times in a single long work day. So it makes the process of even figuring out what is going on and what might fix something with this category of problems, it turns it into like you burn an entire week accomplishing almost nothing. So, and it's a nerve-wracking thing because obviously this is a live game. You all are playing this game live, and it's very easy for me to accidentally break something, which is why I have these sets of bundles. And I've been trying to sort of plow through, because I was a dum-dum and did this engine migration and then also worked on some new content. And so if I have to revert back to 5.6.3.P4, if today's build just explodes for everyone, I will lose several weeks of work that I just cannot recover, because it's not code work, it's putting assets together, it's things that can't be migrated from this later version of Unity back to the earlier one. So I'm hoping I don't have to do that. So anyway, that was the problem space. What's relevant to you folks is 2 really big important things. So the first thing is, modders, please pay attention. Because this is a new version of Unity that this is running on, one of the core sort of spine mods that lots of stuff runs on, most of you are running it if you are running mods at all, called Sodalite, has a critical update that you need. If you didn't install it over the past week, you have to go do that now. If you do not do that, the game will crash 100% of the time on this experimental branch running the old version of Sodalite. So please do that. And if you have friends who mod the game, also check in with them and make sure they have as well. I'm just preparing myself for the like deluge of support requests over this. So yeah, so there's that. And then the second thing is, especially those of you who don't mod, I would really appreciate you, if you're not already playing on the experimental branch, jumping over to it and just try to give the game a once-over with how you end up playing it. I've tried to test it as extensively as possible just to make sure there wasn't some exotic regression. Every time you change an engine version, even minorly, who knows what breaks, especially with an old version of an engine like this that like no one's still working on this. And so it's because what I would like to do ideally is, if this works, is that next week we go to the alpha branch, do a sort of final test. I stuff in some more content. I fix the rest of the bugs. And then the week after that, we actually go in main branch. We have all been brought up to Unity 567, and I can finally have my heart rate come down, because I think I will just be made of nerves until this migration process is finished. I had actually wanted to do this at some point last year, but there was never a good time to do it because something might go wrong, and something went wrong. So I was right about making sure to do it during a time where nothing else critical was going on. So hopefully we can get through this together, and I don't have to throw away weeks of work. And then once this is all done, we can get back to new guns and event system stuff and new levels and all sorts of things that do not involve sitting in this chair having a panic attack. So anywho, I hope you all have yourselves a wonderful weekend. Check out this experimental branch. I'll just be sitting here with a cup of tea going like, ah! So peace.